All right. Well, this is so exciting to be here again with you, Bronwyn. And after our workshop a few months ago, for those of you who don't know us, this is Bronwyn Morrissey. She's a master coach in Colorado. I'm Sarah Auda, formerly Goodson, and I'm in California, also a master coach. And Bronwyn and I have been friends for about 6 years. We met
Hmm.
through a community of coaches that all ascribe to what I would say is a heart-centered approach to coaching, radical service for people. And we really ascribe to an approach called the prosperous coach, which is all about relationships and serving people through relationships. Um, and so Bronwyn and I, as we've been on a professional journey together, we also have had this really deep, just wonderful spiritual connection and friendship connection, which is so special because we get to be friends, we get to be peers as coaches together. We both work individually with the same coach, Amber Chris, and so many of our learnings have been so aligned, Bronwyn. Like the timing of them and the
Hmm.
lessons that life has brought to us and the opportunities have been almost like mirrors of each other in so many ways, which is like, I think just a sign like we're on the right path, like keep going, right? That affirmation. And then
Absolutely.
today, Bronwyn and I were texting and we were like, we should get on a video and record this because this is not just something that we ourselves need, but we wanted to share with other people for anyone that this would be timely for. And really, the subject is support, like the importance of support, not just in this time in our world, and not just for those of you who are solopreneurs or entrepreneurs or small business owners, but for humans in general. Like support is something we need, period. And that can show up in a lot of different ways. And being intentional about support is so key. So Bronwyn and I are taking inspired action, right, to share about what support looks like in our lives. This is just going to be a few minutes, just a blip, a little blurb that hopefully will provide value. And so, Bronwyn, let's start off with like this concept that we both ascribe to that like you are the CEO of your life.
Yes.
And for both of us coming from a long history of corporate leadership, right? That's been our background, mine and yours, in two different industries. But like to be the CEO of your life, like first off, what does that mean to you? I'll share a little bit of what that means to me. And then we'll kind of go into what that looks like in terms of like, right, putting support into place for the various departments of our life.
Yeah. So for me, it really means taking my own action and leadership. So as an example, I'm thinking about a talk that I did last week, and I was talking about how when we get an inspiration or an impulse inside of us that wants to come out, then as the CEO of our life, we get to make a choice. We get to choose, like, are we going to take action on that impulse? And what does that look like? And then how do we consistently take action going forward? And when things get hard, how do we pull courage so that we can continue to move forward in action? And for me, when we're talking about support, part of that support and action might be I need somebody to help me do this, this idea that I have, or this business that I want to create, or, for me, like a group that I want to come to fruition. So, who is that that's going to support me in doing that so that I don't have the heavy lift or stop myself with the like, oh, this is going to be too much, or it feels too big, or I don't know how to do it. Well, yeah, that's right. You don't have to know how to do it, but you can still move forward, and other people are there to help, the experts at it. So just like off the top of my head, when you mention that, that's what comes up for me.
Mm, I love that, Bronwyn. And I think how I think about like a CEO, like I think in the past, I was really in a misunderstanding when I worked within an organization as an executive leader, right? Being in the C suite, I saw the CEO or the president of the company as like, that's the person who calls all the shots, right? Ultimately, they're the bottom line. They may not be the person hiring for every department, right? Although at the beginning, the CEO is the person answering the phones and mopping the floor and cleaning the toilet. But as right, a company scales, or as our lives scale and get right more deeper, more expansive, more values based, right? When we get clear about our priorities, we can really start to think about like the different areas of our life. This is how I think about it, anyways, because I think I outsourced a lot of my power to the CEO. Like that's the person
Mhm.
in charge. I answer to that person. Well, what does it mean to be the CEO of your life? You answer to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And even if you do have a 9 to 5, right? I coach people on this concept all the time that even if you work within an organization, you still are the CEO of your life. You're choosing to give a certain amount of time or energy to that role. But ultimately, in all of areas of your life, health and fitness, romantic relationships, mental health, physical health, relational, right, social, peer support relationships, your finances, right? Who does your taxes, right? Who helps you with bookkeeping if you're a small business owner, or whatever the case might be. So kind of looking at the various departments of life and being like, who do I want to bring in to help support me in that particular area?
Yeah.
And so, I think Bronwyn and I, we both agree on this concept. And, as coaches, we support people in this all the time. It's like, no matter where you are in life, no matter what your profession is, don't go at it alone. Meaning, right, have social support. Maybe you work with a coach or not. Maybe there are other professionals or other people who support you in your world, but like really to be intentional about what your support system is.
Yeah.
So I'm curious for you right now, Bronwyn, you've made some recent changes in your support system. And I want you to share a little bit more than that. And right before I go into that, I want to share a framework that might be helpful for some people. I have a process called, or a worksheet called like the ecology of a healthy leader, or really it could be the ecology of a healthy person. And there's 3 levels. There's who are the people you are pouring into, right? It might be your children. It might be people you're serving in some way or supporting in some way, right? Who are the people you are lifting up? Then it's who's to the sides of you. Who are your peers and collaborative partners, your friends and your professional colleagues, right? But like trusted peers where you have a mutual respect, right? And mutual relationship. But then I think the key, and this is what we're talking about, is like who's at the top investing in you, right? Like who are
Mm.
the people pouring into you? Who are the people helping to create deeper value, more reflection, more free time, right? Like, so that's really kind of what I wanted you to share on, just given recently who you've put into place to support you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just posted about this yesterday because it's so relevant for me. I have 2 coaches that I work with right now, right? One who's our mutual coach that I work with to help me with my business, but it filters in your life, right? There's, not just a defined box. It's been so helpful. Uh, and the other one that I have is I work with a spiritual coach, and that's more on a deeper level of helping me to tap into that inner wisdom inside and trust myself more. And also similar, both of them help me with like navigating around self-doubt and limiting beliefs that I have and the negativity that pops up or these automatic reactions that we have. Um, they've been so helpful, so great. And I'm thinking about all the support I have in my life as you were just sharing the ecology of
Yeah.
it. It's such a beautiful way to think about it. Like you're a huge support for me. My husband's a huge support for me. My friends are huge support for me. Like I pull on support all day long.
Mm,
And it's when I am alone or I feel like I have to do it myself, or that control element that we start to believe starts to take over. It's like it feels like more effort. It's a lot harder. I'm trying to figure it out by myself. And it can be so much easier. It can be so much more fun when you're doing it with other people and support that you can lean in and ask. So yeah, those are some of the people that I lean on. There's so many more too that are
yeah.
not coming to mind right now, but absolutely.
Well, and I love that, like, right, as coaches, we invest so heavily, right, in the people that we work with and that we support, right? And then I love that you're like the peer support, the middle level of like your husband, myself, like really, you have incredible friendships that you've had for years that are so strong, right? And then it's like, I think for those of us who are go-getters, and especially as women and like the oldest children, like we can be so much focused on like, well, I can do it myself. Well, like it doesn't even cross our minds to delegate something, right? Or to be like, could someone else do this? Is there an easier way? How am I creating work for myself? And so like with your spiritual coach, right, and with Amber, your business and life coach, you recently also added some virtual assistants to your team as well, just a few
Yeah.
weeks ago. And
Yeah.
already, you were expressing to me just the benefit of what that's created for you. So I'm curious, like, are you willing to share a little bit about like maybe any hesitancy or misunderstandings before you brought on support in that way of a VA? And then like what your experience has been on the other side of that, and what the benefits have been, what the practical results have been for you. And by practical, I mean both the inner experience and then also just hours and time and the external parts of that too.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I'll start by saying that I had thought about doing this for years, but I hadn't pulled the trigger because of these silly thoughts that were inside. Like, do I really need help? I can do it myself. It's going to be expensive. Oh, it's going to take me so much time to set it up. It's going to be hard. I actually made it feel like it was going to be more work than
Mhm.
the benefit. And it's relatively new for me. We really just started working together, but already just having project based things to be like, I'm just going to hand this over to you. And then it's done beautifully with like a bow on it, which has been extraordinary and beyond what I was expecting. Um, it's taking things off my plate, and I'm realizing there's so many more places that I could use more support, so I'm going to be leaning in more and more. Already I can tell, like, I have a certain amount of hours a month, and I'm like, oh, at least for the first 6 months it's probably not going to be enough. I'm probably going to double it, and then maybe it'll come back a little bit, but I need to invest in myself by investing in this, right? So that the number one thing that I'm learning is that I'm having them do the things that I'm not great at. And so that I can spend time doing things I'm great at, having conversations with people, coaching people, writing my blog, but not like printing it up and sending it out there. The things that I love to do, I then can lean into more and spend more time doing it instead of getting bogged down with these little things that are not my forte, that don't bring me a lot of joy.
Well, and that do require time and energy, right? But
Absolutely.
I love what you're sharing because you could spend time doing those things. You're capable of it. It's just not the
Yeah.
area that brings you joy, right? It's not a great use of your specific time and energy, right? And then what I really love is like you work with a female based company, right, for your VAs, and I know them well. And so the fact that like I think so many of us think about this because I do want to just make a note here for people in general, like even if you're employed by a company, right, and you're
Absolutely.
out there living your life. I've heard people say like, well, I don't even know, I can't afford an assistant. You don't know that because most of you probably haven't done the research for that, right? Like, I don't know what I would give them. I think there's a lot of misnomers around that too, which I can touch on in a second. um, but I think so oftentimes, like when we think about paying bills or we think about paying someone to do a task, we think about it as money leaving, bye bye, gone away, but we don't think about it in terms of how can I honor this investment to myself, like paying your mortgage or your rent or your car payment. It's like, wow, look what I get to invest in, so I have a means of transportation, or a roof over my head and a beautiful comfortable space to live in and sleep in and be in, like. And so even with outsourcing something like this, and I think this is specifically for people who maybe do have a full-time job and are like, I do feel overwhelmed in my life. I'm not sure how to get support. Like,
Yeah.
one of the things that a virtual assistant can do is help with like the mental fatigue, because the mind is a muscle. And investing in, right, bringing someone in, you're investing in someone's business, but you're also investing in like the mental strain, right? We only have a certain capacity for thinking. So even things, and I'll use a really practical example because I started working with a VA a few months ago, and even something as simple as, hey, can you look up, 3 to 4 different plant-based meal delivery services that deliver in my area, right? Here's kind of what I'm looking for, right? It may only take her 15-20 minutes, which literally is a few dollars.
Right.
And yet I could do it, perfectly capable, but between my business and my daughter and responding to emails, right, it's like I'm not going to prioritize it, but it is important to me. I could do it, but to
Yeah.
invest a few dollars in having someone else, right, have a livelihood and take that on and then give me the results of that, it's like, wow, what a gift, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the
Such a
other
silly
thing,
example, but
yeah, well, the other thing to think about, especially for entrepreneurs, but not necessarily, right? This can be also for people that work in corporate too,
yeah.
is I'm already thinking of somebody, I'm like, I got to tell her to get a VA.
Yeah.
I think about it. We can spend time doing the things that are more business generating, revenue generating, that we love to do, like serving people all day long and helping them to be more productive leaders in their lives, right? Versus me working on a database. Like
Hmm.
that's not my forte. That's not where I need to spend my time and energy. So absolutely it can be, it'll pay for itself, right? In other words, in the long run, which might only be the long run of 60 days. If I
Yeah.
bring on one
Well,
client,
yeah.
worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like in that, I think that there's like two audiences we can speak to. And by the way, Bronwyn and I are available for like emails and questions about this, like how we use our VAs, and we'll share about a couple things we both have coming up that can support you in this. But there's the people who are entrepreneurs, and oh my gosh, you and I both have a lot of like whole lists of things that people could delegate to them. Just this last week, I gave my VA, hey, here are all my handouts and worksheets. I just need them to be uniform, right? This font, this way, these margins, header at the top, right? Because they were all in different places on my computer and they all look different and they were all from different years of my business. And it's like, great, right? The uniformity and having it all in one place. Could I do it? Yes. But she's going to do it so much faster, and it's going to create so much more space for me to focus on my daughter, right, my clients, my own self-care, right?
Yeah.
So there's like the entrepreneurship, but then there's also the people who are just living a regular life. They don't have their own business. There is still can be a benefit to the delegation piece, right? And I'll speak to that too. Like my daughter's godmother volunteered, and I actually asked her, and she volunteered to pick up my daughter from school once a week. That saves me literally 90 minutes in one day,
Yeah.
right? And it's like then she gets one-on-one time with her godmother, and my daughter loves it and she loves it. It's like, so it's like if we can broaden our horizons a bit and be like, where can I invite other people in to support, participate, right? Not just like delegate to someone that you've hired to delegate to, but like look as a whole, like, who could really support me in this topic or this idea. That's why I reach out to you about, right, the insights that come through in real time and all of that, right? Like that's part of your role in my friendship, right, with you and our
Yeah.
relationship
Yeah.
together. Um, but I'm curious, like as we close up here, what's kind of like one thing, one thought that you want to leave with anyone who's watching this around that idea of support or delegation? What's one thing that you just want to close up with?
Hmm. That's a good question. Um, don't be scared to ask for help. I
Mm,
know that, I'm the woman who goes grocery shopping and then walks in the house with like 400 bags of groceries in my arms, trying to like carry them into the kitchen. My kids used to laugh at me all the time. And it was kind of this part of me, the ego part of me is like, I can do it by myself, like this fierce independence that we have as moms and employees and entrepreneurs. And I'm like, let that go because life's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be more fun. You're going to have more capacity to bring in more joy in your life. That's what I'm discovering. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so not just time, energy, right? Like work hours, but also just like joy and space, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then I guess just my closing thought would be like wherever you are in life, whatever stage of life you're in, no matter your income, like do not step into the next season of life alone in terms of
Mhm.
friendship, in terms of support, like to really spend some time thinking about like who can I invite on this journey that I'm already in, right?
Yeah.
And then to close up, Bronwyn, I know we'll put both of our websites, and then you have something upcoming that could potentially support women specifically, right, in assessing a lot of what we talked about here. And I have a workshop coming up. Why don't you share just a sentence or two about your program, and then we'll link to it below, as well as the workshop that I'm doing.
Yeah, great. So I love when you were talking about the CEO of your life, because that's what we're going to be doing with this advanced leadership group. It starts in January, mid-January, and it's going to be focused on really like trusting that inner guidance inside and the support of the other women in this group. Like that's literally where the magic comes, which is exactly what you and I are talking about right now. Magic comes from being together with other women that are powerful, that can inspire ideas, that can get you into action. So
Mhm.
that starts in January, 6 months. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
And I know you have a like an application process, right, for people who are interested. So we'll link to that below. And then
Yep.
I have a workshop, my final workshop of the year. It's on Zoom exclusively on Saturday, November 18th. It's from 9 to noon Pacific Standard Time. The recording will go out for anyone who registers, but it's on maximizing your time. And I'm going to be going into delete, delegate, and delay, which is all of what we talked about here. So it'll be a 3-hour workshop for people who want to go much deeper into that. And in terms of VA, I will also include a virtual assistant company that Bronwyn works with and that I know very well for anyone who's interested in knowing more information about how they could potentially help as well. So, Bronwyn, thank you so
Good.
much for taking the time. I know this was impromptu. This was so much fun. And I can't wait to do more with you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye.